This was a video, well, actually a story that I had meant to talk about in the weekly recap live stream that I did on the 20th of September. But with so many stories that I already had at my disposal, I completely forgot about it. But I said, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and talk about it right now in this form of a video. And I know because it's like, you know, the commentary itself, the topic of it is about a couple weeks old, but I said, you know what? I think this definitely needs to be put out there because this is absolutely insane for anybody to say. So in case y'all don't know what I'm about to talk about, I'm about to talk about this clip that has gone viral involving Brian Kilmeade, who is a 1/3 of this panel on Fox and Friends, as you can see right here. Brian Kilmeade is the one on the far right, and it basically is coming off of the cusp of what happened with Rhetoric down there in North Carolina. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna insert the clip, and I want you to listen to the response that Brian Kilmeade gives to the black anchor as it pertains to this topic.
Billions of dollars to mental health and the homeless population. A lot of them don't want to take the programs. A lot of them don't want to get the help that is necessary. You can't give them a choice. Either you take the resources that we're going to give you, or you decide that you're going to be locked up in jail. That's the way it has to be now.
Or involuntary lethal injection or something. Just kill them.
Yeah, Brian, why did it have to get to this point?
Right. I would say this. We're not voting for the right people. In North Carolina, wake up.
So you heard what he said right there. He said, you know, the black anchor was talking about like solutions that could happen for people who are homeless and what needs to be done if they don't want to take the necessary resource that is offered to them. Then, you know, he suggested locking them up, which is tame compared to what Brian came back and responded with saying, just give them the lethal injection. So you want to give the lethal injection to a bunch of people who have absolutely nothing. That reminds me of when Trump said that he was going to have the homeless moved out of DC and have them move somewhere else. And people was like, where are they going to go? They don't have a home to go to. And, you know, some of these shelters are not only full, but some of them are dangerous. I've heard horror stories when it comes to these homeless shelters. It's bad in a lot of cases when it comes to situations and dealing with the homeless shelters. You know, people getting robbed of their belongings, women getting assaulted, probably some children getting assaulted in various forms of ways. It can be madness up in there, and you're literally on your own a lot of the times. Like, you don't know who to trust, if you can trust anybody at all. But he's suggesting let's just go ahead and put them down. And it's not lost on me that Brian said this, and they're speaking on what happened with Rhetoric, and the person who did it happened to be black. So the fact that he even said that, because I've never heard anyone say something like that before, but because the person happened to be black, this is Brian Kilmeade's first go-to response as far as how to deal with the situation, because that's exactly what he would do. Unfortunately, with his words, it actually led to an incident that occurred not too long after he made that statement. I believe it happened in Minnesota at an encampment, at a homeless encampment.
Check your top stories this morning. Now to new developments in a situation we brought to you as breaking news last night at 10.
More than 20 police units were on the scene. This is the shooting at a homeless encampment that's been at the center of controversy for months now. It's over on East Lake Street.
So the encampment is on East Lake Street and 28th Avenue South. Our Barrett Leone joins us live in Minneapolis as we get new details into exactly what happened. And also, Barrett, of course, we know safety is at the top of mind here, too.
Yeah, exactly. AJ, Heather, Minneapolis police are telling us this was a mass shooting that happened there last night. 8 people were shot, 4 are in critical condition. Authorities say right now they have not arrested anyone and don't have any suspects at this time. But really, there was a massive scene there last night, and we do have some video to show you. Now, according to law enforcement, gunfire broke out around 10 o'clock last night. Officers found victims both inside the encampment and on nearby sidewalks. Investigators say they're working to figure out what led up to the shooting and believe more than one shooter could be involved. This latest act of violence and the contentious encampment appears to be a final straw for city leaders. They've been talking about unsafe and unsanitary conditions there for months, and now, despite potential litigation, they plan to clear it.
The people of Minneapolis deserve peace and safety. All residents of the city deserve that on their streets and in their neighborhoods and in their homes. And I know it's been a lot of violence lately, and we just want our community to know that we are not going to give up and that we will continue to fight so that every person in this city can be safe.
If he wants to sue us, he can. If he wants to take this up in court, that is certainly his prerogative, but this is not safe. This is a danger to the community, and it's being shut down right now.
And we know that the homeless encampment off Lake Street has been controversial from the start. And right now there is an ongoing dispute between the private property owner that's allowing this encampment to happen there and the city. But despite all of this, the city says that they do plan to clear it once this investigation is over. And we'll dig into that in a little bit more coming up in about a half hour.
All right. Our Barrett Leon live for us this morning in Minneapolis. Thank you.
So as you can see, and as you heard with that audio right there, it said that 8 homeless people were shot at an encampment. And this was not too long after these comments were made by Brian Kilmeade. Like probably not even a whole week had went by. And then that happened just a few days later. And people was like, see, it's that type of rhetoric right there that people hear, and it causes them to go out there and commit these types of acts. And people were saying, you know, Brian was dead wrong for saying that, because now look at the result of what ended up happening. Granted, they said this is something they've been dealing with for a long time, but this might be one of their more extreme cases. And who knows his words, who knows, someone could have probably heard what he said, and then it happened. For all we know, someone just was going to plan on doing it, whether they listen to Brian Kilmeade or not. They may not even know who Brian Kilmeade is, but it's just everything, the timing, how everything just lined up, and then this ends up happening. But of course, you know, in typical fashion, Brian ended up issuing an apology. Brian says that he issues an apology. He said he apologized for that extremely callous remark. And it goes on and on and on. But really, honestly, his apology doesn't really mean much of anything, because he said what he said and he meant it the first time. Honestly, there really is no apology that he could give that would make people see him in the way that they probably once saw him. Of course, I don't watch Fox and Friends, so I don't see him in any type of light whatsoever.
In the morning, we were discussing the murder of Irina Zaruska in Charlotte, North Carolina, and how to stop these kinds of attacks by homeless, mentally ill assailants, including institutionalizing or jailing such people so they cannot attack again. Now, during that discussion, I wrongly said they should get lethal injections. I apologize for that extremely callous remark. I'm obviously aware that not all mentally ill homeless people act as the perpetrator did in North Carolina, and that so many homeless people deserve our empathy and compassion.
So he issued that apology, which many people felt was a hollow and weak apology. I found this video on his Twitter account, and when I looked through the comments, man, they were tearing him a new one, because not one person I could come across that left a response, and I looked at about 10 of them, said that they would have accepted their apology. And I even saw one comment who brought up, you know, like there's a thousands of homeless veterans, which there are, and they should definitely be getting all types of assistance, considering they fought for this country and they basically got nothing in return except a box to live on or live out of, or a shelter to be thrown into, because, you know, the VA is not working for them, or they're not getting all their benefits and whatnot. And he had the nerve to actually say, let's just go ahead and just execute them, you know. And he said it so cold. So that's why I said when he said it the first time, that's what he meant. This apology that he gave, it sounds so scripted. Like it was this was 30 seconds. This was a 30-second apology for something he meant in that moment. And I'm glad people are not accepting his apology. I even saw people who were bringing up and saying how people get fired from their jobs for less, which is very true. People even brought up about the whole Matthew Dowd situation. He was the anchor over there at MSNBC who said what he said about Charlie Kirk. Now, I had played that for y'all in my weekly recap that I did on the 20th, and nowhere in it did he say once out of his mouth that he was glad that what happened with Charlie Kirk happened. He didn't even wish ill will to Charlie Kirk or his family or loved ones or anyone else who felt impacted by him. He just said what he said, and they took it, and he ended up getting removed from MSNBC. And then, of course, you saw what happened with Jimmy Kimmel and what the blowback came from that as well. That was tame compared to what Brian Kilmeade said. He literally suggested, and it was his first suggestion, that the homeless, if they don't get it together, let's just take them all out. That's what he said, and that was his only, as far as I know, solution. He didn't have another one. That was his one and done solution of what should happen to them. But you know what? This is Fox News we're talking about. He's still going to maintain a job. No one's going to correct him. No one's going to push back against him like they push back against others, as we have seen in recent weeks. And they're just going to move on from this. And you know why? Because many of those who don't push back against him, they agree with what he said. They just didn't have the balls to actually say it. He just had the nerve to actually say it live on air in front of a national and possibly international audience. But the fact of the matter is, there are many more people who have the same mindset as him. They just won't say it. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this down in the comments, and I will talk to you in the next one.